Streaming service revealing on Twitter it's been viewed by 111 million fans. The South Korean thriller focuses on a fictional deadly...
Good afternoon. It is 2 days before our 50th anniversary.
And by the way, before we get started with the actual radio, there's going to be an introduction, so let's kind of save some of the good stuff until we actually get officially started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, the time has come, the walrus said, to speak of many things. And we're going to speak of many, many things about holism today. Holism was created, as far as I know, by a man named Jan Smuts. He was a general and then prime minister of South Africa. Mm-hmm. And in the 1920s, he wrote a book called Holism and Evolution, a brilliant overview of science in relation to, well, spirituality and holism. And the word was not actually even introduced into this country until in the mid-50s. There was one paper written on it. And then I didn't find anything else until it began to appear again in the 70s. And officially, actually, holistic medicine began in May of 2028 when I called a meeting of 212 people. I always take it at the boiling point. 212 individuals who got together to create the American Holistic Medical Association. And that was really officially the beginning of holistic medicine, even though I had already begun in 2000, 50 years ago.
The views expressed on this show are those of the host, guests, and callers, and not those of radio station KICK, Vision Communications Incorporated, its management, or advertisers. Vision Communications Incorporated is not responsible for the validity or accuracy of information presented on this program.
Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Shealy-Sorin. Get the health answers you need from the creator of holistic medicine and the 2020 Holistic Doctor of the Year. To be a part of the show, call 417-447-1777. Wellness Wednesday. Now, here are your hosts, Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Shealy-Sorin.
And good afternoon. In just 2 days now, we will be celebrating the 50th anniversary of the beginning of holistic medicine. And interestingly, that concept was begun, as far as I know, well, almost 50 years earlier by Jan Smuts, the Prime Minister of South Africa, who wrote a book, Holism and Evolution. But officially, holistic medicine didn't exist until May 22nd, I believe, of 1978. Mm-hmm. Although I had been at it already at that time for 7 years.
And just worth mentioning one more time, and who was the founding father of that movement? Who started the organization?
I started it. I called together the foundation. No, only 212. That's the boiling point.
Perfect. Well, that's what it took, actually. That's fine. And but unfortunately, interestingly enough, and I'm sure you can go into a lot more detail about it, that original hug, the fire, the concept didn't quite take fully in that form.
Right. Well, really, holistic means holy. That's where it comes from. And of course, that aspect of thought and medicine was kicked out about 300 years ago, unfortunately. Now, conventional medicine today for acute illness is essential. You couldn't be alive sometimes without it. But I have to say, for chronic disease, I personally can't imagine any chronic disease for which I would allow conventional therapy. Not one. Because they always use drugs, and every known drug has more long-term complications than I am willing to even think about. However, the time has come, the walrus said, for people to think about whether or not they are willing to take the risks of aspirin. Interestingly, just this week, this one little blurb that came out, FDA advises against taking aspirin. For the first time, the Federal Death Administration admits it. I was taught over 65 years ago that 13,000 people a year died from taking aspirin. That's the most common complication. And now you have ibuprofen and all that, ketoprofen and this, that, and the other, and they also cause bleeding from the gut. So they're okay for acute use, but never for chronic use. In chronic use, you need to look at the cause, and you look at nutrition and your habits and your thinking, above everything, thinking. Every thought, every word that goes through your mind has a meaning. And basically, it's the same as a prayer. You may not think of it as a prayer, but it is what you are pushing and getting emotionally attached to, no matter how you think. So, interestingly, I learned it backdoors, so to speak. In 1970, I was introduced to the concept of autogenic training. Autogenic training at that time had been around since 1912, and there were 2,600 scientific references on how good it was for all kinds of emotional, psychological problems. And exactly at that same time, Dr. Elmer Green was inventing biofeedback. In fact, he originally called it autogenic feedback training. And his first thing was temperature biofeedback. But it became anything you can monitor and learn to control, from your heart rate to your circulation to the pressure in your eyes, etc. All of that can be fed back and help to train the brain. But at the bottom line, you train the brain to detach from those things you do not want to allow to upset you for no good reason. That's what it's all about. In other words, playing a broken record, bad thing, it doesn't get you anywhere. It's a waste of time and energy, and it makes you anxious and depressed. And the drugs are bad enough to do that. You don't need to do it with your mind. You can take a drug and not have to worry with your mind. But the point is, you need to learn how to detach. And we have now treated over 36,000 people, and that is the basic foundation for retraining the brain. Now, there are scores, 5 score of whatever, of different exercises you could do, different variations of the theme, but all of them have to do with training yourself to be in control in a nice, pleasant, healthy way of what you're thinking and why. Now, it also involves electricity. And by the way, I've got the next person for our study of the Rejuvatins doing it tomorrow morning.
Wonderful. That's great.
And she's an absolutely superb candidate. And she lives right here in Springfield. And we're going to test her, and we'll be able to tell whether she needs to continue with that or convert to a conventional cranial stimulator. And, there are lots of things like that going on. And I want to mention one other thing. I'm going to offer 5 people in the greater Springfield area who can come in at no charge if they want to quit smoking and need help doing it. We're going to use one of our new Bliss oils on the 4 acupuncture points that, when they're injected with very painful substances, help you quit smoking. This is not painful. It feels good. And so if you have a desire to quit smoking, volunteer and just call the clinic and tell them you're coming in for the free smoking control program, and just call 351-5221.
It's actually absolutely amazing and fascinating, but there's not a time that we don't run 2 or 3 projects at any given point, do we?
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Only when we want to do safe research. Now, safety is first.
Yeah.
We don't start a project till we're positive it's safe. We plaster ourselves with it first before we try it on anybody else. Then we measure whatever chemicals we need to be sure.
And that's the actual nature of holism. Because, holism. Let's talk about a recent award that was given to a certain doctor who is sitting right here next to me, and it's called the Genius of Holistic Medicine.
Well, it's, the concept, I agree, is a genius concept.
Yes, indeed.
Not because I came up with it, but because it was time and necessary in the 70s.
Well, bringing the spirit, the spiritual component, the thing that's missing, the most essential part of the human being. We are spiritual beings in a physical body. So I do want to address the genius of the concept, because this is brilliant. And well, frankly speaking, the other side, the conventional side, is anything but genius. I'm just going to say it that way. And I have no problem saying that. The idea and the problem of working with a physical. Okay, let's just for everyone who's sitting at home and listening, just picture this. If you had a doctor's visit, when was the last time your doctor asked you about your purpose in life, your thoughts, feelings, and emotions? How it was the trigger or the situation behind the onset of diabetes or thyroid, or because there is a trigger, there is a reason, and it's when was the last time your doctor looked at you as a whole, as a complete human being, as a spiritual being, with the mental and emotional patterns and with physical patterns? When was the last time that your doctor did that? Now, by the way, your doctor is not going to be able to do that. Why? Because they are under insurance, and most of them are. And once you're under the a racket of protection and cover of the pharmaceutical industry and otherwise, you can think freely, even if you want to. You can't afford to. You lose your job.
Well, also, as I understand it,
Yeah.
the system, whatever it is, and I wrote a book about the system called third-party rape back in 1995. After the third party tried to rape the clinic, of stuff that was approved by Congress for us to do. We were under a congressional order to do this. And Blue Cross Blue Shield of Missouri refused to pay. I had to take them to court, and we won the suit. And a year later, interestingly, the president of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Missouri was sent to jail for fraud. I don't know what it had to do with, don't much care, but he deserved it. At any rate, the system sucks, and that's the kindest thing you could say on the radio.
Well, yes,
but
absolutely.
It is getting worse. Instead of being BS, I now call it WS for whale, because it's much too big to insult a bull that way. So the important thing is, are you ready to take control? And you are in control. I'm not. I can tell you what I think is wise for you to do and healthy for you to do, but I can't do it. I can't do anything that I suggest to you except tell you what to do. I can't breathe for you. I can't eat for you. I can't move for you. I can't think for you, but I can tell you how to begin doing it. And at the top of that list is autogenic training. 18 minutes twice a day. It trains the brain. And after that 3 months, it takes a minute or two a day.
And the goal, I just want to be real clear to everybody who's our patients, clients, but also who is listening and who wants to either download this or get it, one way or another. Autogenic training is not meant to be relied on for the rest of your life. It's a tool. It's like driving, learning how to drive, or learning how to shoot a gun, or learning, how to do anything really. Once you know, you can always go back and remember what you're doing. You don't have to think about where's the gas pedal, where's the brake when you're in the vehicle. So just the same way, when stress happens, I just want to share my emergency room stories. I still work in the emergency rooms, by the way. So previous weekend was interesting, very, very interesting. And if we have time, I'll talk about some of that. But I've actually when I was younger, before I knew Dr. Shealy, I thought the cold hands and clammy, palms and, a fast heart rate was a sign of excitement. It was great. It was fantastic. It made me come alive. No, it's killing me. That's called stress. So not only my arms and hands are heavy and warm. If they're not, if they're cold, and I'll know immediately. I know that I'm under stress. That means I got to do something. Close my eyes. And right now, it takes one breath technique for me to get back my balance.
Well, interestingly, in my neurosurgical training, I was a junior resident, my first year as a resident in neurosurgery. And I saw a patient in the emergency room, and I made a diagnosis of a subdural hematoma, blood clot on the surface of the brain. So I called the chief resident. He said, well, go ahead and operate, Norm. Now, I'd seen a few craniotomies, but I'd never done one. He said, I'll be in. when I'm sewing up after finishing the craniotomy, he showed, "Oh, good job, Norm." He didn't want good job, but he didn't see it till I finished. But interestingly, I had seen enough to get it done properly. My favorite, maybe all-time craniotomy was a man who came in. His head was about that big. His head had been caught between a big boat and the wharf, or whatever you call it, and it crushed his head. And I had to take off the entire top of his skull to save his brain. Put it in the freezer, and 3 months later, I put the skull back on. I mean, overcome. Now, he lost his sense of smell, which is not unusual with that kind of cranium. But other than that, he turned out amazingly well. And so neurosurgery in acute illnesses of many kinds is life-saving. And that's all kinds of other surgery can be. A ruptured appendix. I mean, the idea of treating someone with antibiotics for a ruptured appendix or even appendicitis, I think that's crazy. Why not just take it out and be done with it? But that's just my opinion.
By the way, speaking of the genius of holistic medicine, and I know the story, but I just wanted to kind of share with the world. How does somebody have the courage, the guts, to take a neurosurgical career, an academic career, for which is the top of the, it's the lion of the jungle, so to speak, and just basically throw it all away, so to speak, for something called holism?
Well, because I had invented spinal cord stimulation. My first major invention, although TENS was at about the same time, and I was being sent 400 people a year, recommended from the referring doctor a spinal cord stimulator, which is actually inserting a pacemaker over the spinal cord. Now, the average patient had 5 unsuccessful back operations, not 1 or 2. And they were on Valium, one of my least favorite in the world drugs, and Percodan, a narcotic, which has never been drugs I like. And I wasn't willing to stick a knife in their back to insert a pacemaker. So I was turning down 94% of those people because I wasn't willing to operate on them. So that's why between July and now, I made the decision in 1971, somebody's got to find out how to treat these people who fail conventional medicine. And so I just did it because I thought it needed to be done. Somebody had to stop the nonsense, because before I invented spinal cord stimulation, patients were taken to the operating room, bone was taken off the spine, and you broke off a piece of a razor blade, literally broke off the edge of it. I hope it was sterile, and inserted into the front half of the spinal cord. Now, it only paralyzed about 10% of people, and it caused forever after paralysis of the bowel and bladder as well as the opposite leg, but at least they were rid of pain for about 6 or 8 years, and then the pain came back. Now, I thought the first time I saw this procedure, I was an assistant, the second assistant on a major operation, and I thought, this is the most barbarian thing in the world. And I still think it is the most barbarian thing I'm aware of. And that's why when I finished my training in neurosurgery, I spent 3 years developing TENS and spinal cord stimulation. But what I found then, when I began dealing with all these people who had failed conventional medicine, was they had an average of 5 other major problems. Hypertension, diabetes, depression, anxiety, you name it. It was chronic disease, period. And fortunately, I learned autogenic training at that particular moment. And I began doing that. It was better than any psychiatrist. Of course,
Yes.
I'm not sure. I think 99% of psychiatrists are crazier than any patient I've ever seen. So I've never been much of a, person to send somebody to a psychiatrist. It still would not. I'd rather be dead than be killed.
Yeah.
However, the concept that we are a soul incarnated, the soul never dies. The body dies, but the soul continues indefinitely.
And I'm going to jump in on this because this is the genius of the concept. This is the true genius of the holism. Because if you follow the conventional system, Einstein, that's another genius, by the way, definition of insanity, doing the same things and expecting a different result. That's what you get with a conventional medicine. And that's why I'm not even sure I'm going to continue with conventional medicine for much longer, given the state of affairs of the world today. I'm going to have to make a decision at some point. But, the concept is Dr. Norm jumped out, at his point of departure. And, the thing is, you've ruined my taste for conventional. I mean, you really have. I came in, I was still thinking there's still some value here and there. Acutely, yes. Emergency room, what I still do is valuable. But how do you close your eyes on something that you can see as a complete disgrace? Because it's missing the most essential part of what a human being is, the soul, and the why behind everything. I just want to share a story of a client I just had, wonderful young lady. And she came in, normally it takes me half an hour to get to the point of realizing that we are spiritual beings and to start from that on. But she immediately started out with, I need to figure out why I'm sabotaging myself. And that's the question. And once we get to that, all the details were easy, simple. It's just a question of seeing the pattern. That's what it's all about. And she's going to be a success.
Well, I think, again, 89 to 95% of people with almost any disease can be a success if they're willing to change their thinking and their behavior and everything else really in their lives. Now, interestingly, at the top of the list is autodidact training, but also at the top of the list is avoiding wheat. Wheat, I consider the most poisoned food in the history of the world because it is triple dosed with Roundup, one of the world's greatest poisons. Now, our air, 75% of the air and the rain coming down has Roundup in it, thanks to your Federal Death Administration approving such things. And, I mean, from my point of view, legally, it is wrong to call anything organic. You can't call it organic if it had Roundup on it. That's, by definition, poison. But beyond that, doing what you can to avoid wheat and rice. White rice, by the way, is no better than sugar. You might as well just dip it in the sugar. Forget the rice. Don't have to cook it at least. Mm-hmm. It's just as bad. And white potatoes. They're all equally bad. And sugar, which is what I call the original non-food. If you ate the sugar cane or the sugar beet, it would be okay. It has some vitamins and some minerals and some fiber. But as a pure carbohydrate, it's almost poison.
A little reference here, but double meaning here. You remember the original food pyramid as it came up by the Federal Death Administration and other agencies? So here's the thing. What does a true pyramid of health look like if you were to truly think about it? And I'm going to give you my definition, but then see if you agree or not. So the very foundation, the broadest thing, the thing that determines success or failure, without that you got nothing, is the foundation, the lifestyle and the stress management with autogenic training and biogenics. Then you've got supplements, and then you've got all the rest of the stuff, which is devices, electromagnetic, but it's just, that's holism.
Absolutely. And by the way, I want to mention the winner of the contest from the last week, Lynn Sanders, Sanders. Your choice, a wellness booster package or access to all current biogenics courses. That's your giveaway this week. Now, for next week, both winners will get access to any course of their choice. At the end of the giveaway, all you got to do is go to Facebook or YouTube, be part of our Facebook group. And the important thing is this is likely to continue if you like it. Matt has told me that's what we should continue doing. And if that's what you like, let us know, and we're likely to continue it. Now, the time has come to begin to think about whether you are willing to take the chances of living longer and the probability of living longer by taking care of yourself. The average American dies at age 79. You should, when you're born, have a genetic predisposition to live to be 100 years of age. But it's because of unhealthy habits that people die 21 years early.
No.
And with certain things, you can boost that by many, many years. We can actually regrow the tips of your DNA 3.5% a year.
Absolutely wonderful and absolutely true. I just want to address the question that this is unfortunately a very common statement by my patients, clients that I see, and we've gotten quite busy actually. The waiting list now for the office visit is now at least a month for me right now. So I mean that's a wonderful thing. Are we okay? So
be back after the break.
Yeah, come back after the break. Yeah.
And we'll continue during the break.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if there are any questions.
Wonderful. Let's do that. Yeah. Let's do the same. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the questions was, is the smoking protocol the same? Is the smoking protocol the same as vaping?
No, absolutely not. There's no vaping at all. This is actually a mixture of essential oils, which you just touch to these 4 points.
I believe the question was angled a slightly different. In people who vape and people who smoke, would it work for them?
Oh, probably, yes.
Yes.
I see, I understand.
Right. It's just a different angle on it. That's fine, yeah. Any kind of addiction, especially that, I would say give it a go.
Yes, why not?
Another question was, what should you use as a substitute for low-dose aspirin?
What's a different option holistically for a low-dose aspirin for prevention and vascular?
Nattokinase is my favorite. 1,000 milligrams of nattokinase is infinitely safe.
The follow-up question to that is it safe to take 6,000 vitamin C a day, and how much zinc should you take every day?
Well, the zinc is 30 to 50 milligrams.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to take 6,000 milligrams of vitamin C if you take adequate B complex with it. Otherwise, you can get kidney stones. And if your intestines tolerate it. Because vitamin C is toxic to the gut in certain people, even above 2,000 milligrams a day. It's rare to be that sensitive, but most people can tolerate 5 grams.
Up to 25 grams by the founder of vitamin C therapy and options, but you don't have to take that much.
No.
And there's liposomal as well, but there's also a youth formula which combines vitamin C 2 grams with MSM, which doubles the effect.
Exactly. And neither one of them alone will raise your DHEA, the antistress hormone, but together they do.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Another question from another listener is, how long should the vitamin C cocktail stay in your system to help your immune system?
Well, it depends on the degree of trouble, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Orally, if it hasn't worked within a week, it's not going to. And if it's a serious thing, you really need an IV.
We're talking about the IV now. As far as IV, I'm going to answer with my own story and my own example. I work emergency room weekends, every other weekend, that is for now, assuming that, the healthcare system will continue to be a healthcare system and not a death care system. I'm going to stop and say nothing else about that for moving forward. But speaking of that, whenever I come home on Monday from the shift, and I'm exposed to everything. I literally get exposed to everything, and I haven't gotten sick other than the one time that I did have the experience, and I got myself through with vitamin C. At that time, I took that's why it's a wonderful answer to this question. At that point, I did 3 IVs in a row and then followed every other day, and that kept me out of the hospital entirely. And I should have been in a hospital by standard definitions.
And I want to mention, by the way, he was sick enough that everybody else in the office got at least a mild case of the disease except me.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, it's and we had to shut everything down, and that was a pain in the behind. But here's the thing, so that's the intense regimen. Then once I got a little better, And now I do it every week because I don't give the bugs a chance to grow or develop. And it's a great booster. I also combine it with ozone, but you don't always have to combine it. You can do separate, and it's more recommended to be separate. So I'm going to say weekly for people who are high risk exposure or poor immunity, or up to monthly, especially given the season. And if you want to stay healthy, at least monthly.
I actually have done it every 2 weeks prophylactically.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't know if it's that or my other habits or not, but I have not had the problem.
And make sure that the vitamin C you're getting is a quality vitamin C with a proper ratios, proper amount of vitamin C, because there's lots of places all over the country and even in town that advertise and basically put out, we have Myers cocktails, but if you look at the amounts, they're minuscule. So it's the quality, not the quantity. So you gotta be able to trust the party that is delivering it to. Any other questions?
No more questions, just more happy anniversary wishes.
Yes.
And we're getting ready to go back live on the radio.
And
wait.
Now, back to Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Shealy-Sorin.
And good afternoon again. And remember, every day in every way you can get better and better. And among other things, for every human being, today you need a great 40 years ago. For the average adult, that means 50,000 units of vitamin D3 once a week. It means our youth formula 4 times a day forever. And it means our essential good B complex multivitamin 2 minimum every day. That's the baseline just to keep your brain healthy in today's polluted world. And of course, here in Springfield, there's one place and only one place that I can recommend for getting those, and that is Spring Valley Natural Foods. And why do I recommend it? Well, if you want to know why I go there, take yourself to the big one once. Walk in the way I did twice, and I gave up because it must be 15,000 items in the store, and nobody comes to tell you where anything is. You walk into Spring Valley, and the first thing they almost open the door for you to come in, and they tell you where things are. They find them for you. So it's service as well as availability. And, of course, they carry all of our goodies, the essentials, the youth formula, the bliss oil, the magnesium lotion, all great for you. And, of course, for the average person, you are not getting enough fruits and veggies. The average person gets 2 servings a day instead of 8 to 10. Mm-hmm. And, of course, if you really want to do that without eating that much, well, take ORAC, ORAC, rich energy greens, ORAC energy greens. That's 6 servings of fruits and vegetables. And the other one I strongly recommend, Nature Blessed Tart Cherry Juice Concentrate. 2 tablespoons. That gives you another 3.5 servings. You don't need to eat any fruits and vegetables other than take it that way, and you still can be healthy. Now, Nature Blessed Tart Cherry Juice lowers your blood pressure, lowers your cholesterol, is anti-inflammatory, and it tastes smashingly good. I think everybody can enjoy the taste of good concentrated tart cherry juice, Nature Blessed, at a real grocery store. If they don't have it, they are a fake grocery store. And of course, in the average grocery store, 80% is fake. And now we will take your calls at 417-447-1777. The time has come, the walrus said, and you are on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. This is Rainbow.
Good. Hi.
Hi.
What can we do for you?
A medical intuitive that I work with told me that my lymph system is backed up, and I'm wondering what I could do to relieve that. I feel lousy also. I've just been feeling really sluggish and out of sorts, and I don't really know what to do about it.
Well, there are 2 things that can help the lymph system immensely. One of those is called AccuMassage. It is a wonderful little gadget that you lie down and put your ankles on, and it really pumps the lymph system for you and safely. Equally important is castor oil, not internally, externally. The best way is after you shower or bath, rub castor oil from the bottom of your neck down to your wrists, front and back, down your whole body to your ankles, front and back. Put on a sweatsuit and sleep in it every night for 5 nights. Well, you can change the suit if you like, but it really cleanses the lymph system.
That's one of the ways to go. Another thing that we have, and we'll be happy to show it to you, is something called VibraPlate. It's a device that's a vibration plate, the various frequencies up to 50-something cycles per second, and it literally is good for the bones, for the joints, for the lymph, and lots of other stuff. There's various positions you can take. You can bend the knees slightly or otherwise. But the bottom line is there's many ways, and I'm going to say one thing. It's not just an isolated lymph stasis. It's usually a bunch of other things, such as immune issues. So if you are interested in a truly holistic perspective, I would look at a bigger picture than that.
But I want to mention, by the way, the least expensive but excellent VibraPlate is Confidence, CONFIDENCE, available on Amazon.
Yeah.
$250. I paid $2,400 for one back in 1994.
Oh, wow. Can you say confidence?
Confidence, yeah. CONFIDENCE.
Oh, that's the brand name of
That's
the
the brand
VibraPlate?
name, yep.
Oh, okay. I'll check it out. Now, getting back to the castor oil, Dr. Shealy. So I'm familiar with castor oil packs, and I've done them, but this is different. This is rubbing it on your skin.
It's like a castor oil pack for your whole body.
I see. So I would start at the base of my neck, go down my arms to my wrists.
Mm-hmm. All the way down your body, all the way to your ankles, front and back.
All over my whole body, all the way to my ankles.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I got to have some good sweats for that because that's going to be sticky.
Oh, it is. Absolutely.
But it's not nearly as messy as you think it would be.
Right.
Honestly.
Okay.
Make sure it's a suit you're not going to wear for the outside.
Yeah. Okay. I will try that. I will definitely try that.
If you have any questions beyond that, there's always the consultation. We can always talk about all sorts of holistic concepts related to you specifically, personally.
All right. I will consider that.
Yeah. Start with what we suggested. If you can do that, that's great.
Okay.
That's something I can do.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yes. About a month ago, my mom.
Mm-hmm. Hello. Yeah.
Are you there?
She had.
Speak up, please.
Hi. We lost a sentence or two there. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she got diagnosed with ductulitis of the colon.
Colitis.
Yeah.
Colitis, inflammation of the colon. Okay, yeah.
She was constantly couldn't control her bowel movement.
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys recommended the G8 probiotic, which I gave her. She was
GR8 probiotics, yeah.
Yeah.
And now she can't hold anything down. Now she throws everything up, and she can't go to the bathroom. And she can't get any help from her doctors.
Okay, consultation. That's all I gotta say right now, because this is an urgent matter. If you're not digesting, if you're not utilizing, there might be electrolyte issues. There's a need for lab work. This is where conventional is gonna come in terms of evaluation, not so much in terms of treatment, but in terms of evaluation. And there's a whole bunch of factors that would be important. Go ahead, please. Can you? You're kind of breaking up again.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know the connection wasn't the greatest, but if you're interested, the telephone number to the clinic is 417-351-5221, and this would be a good example of a consultation.
Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm J.D. Edwards, and I wanted to talk to you or Dr. Shealy. I have a question for you. if you have any familiarity with using stem cells.
Stem cells, yeah.
For Parkinson.
For Parkinson. Interestingly enough, I'm going to share something here with you. I've had a back injury. It's neurologic. It's not the same as Parkinson's, but I basically was near paralyzed from a lumbar spine. And right now I've got metal and everything else in my body that's stabilizing from lumbar 1 through lumbar 4. I was told I would be learning how to walk again by the 6 weeks to 6 months. I did the stem cells at the advice of Dr. Shealy. I did a bunch of other stuff such as PMF, and I was actually very proactive as opposed to what I was told to just rest and do nothing. And the end result is 3 weeks after surgery, I was back in the emergency room doing a 24-hour shift, and including a 3-hour drive there by myself. Now, I've got countless stories of stem cells and otherwise, but that would be a discussion in person about the risks, the benefits. So please give us a call if you're interested. It's a wonderful thing.
Also versus exosomes.
Well, there's various things. There's exosomes, there is PRP, platelet-rich plasma, there is stem cells. There's so many things, and depending on the purpose, depending on what you want to accomplish, especially neurological, there's so many ways and various options. I think it'd be a good discussion. Are you here? Are you local in Springfield?
Yes, I go to Dr. Shealy occasionally.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Set an appointment with me, and we'll talk more about how to take care of you on this, if you like.
Okay, let me give you my phone number.
Actually, the best thing is, I hate to say this, but I used to take the appointments and to communicate with the front desk, and then I realized that's not the way to go. So if I can ask you to call the phone number at 417-351-5221, and now we can take your number and send it to the front desk as well, so they can call you. But it's best that if you can set up a time and a place that's really good for you, because
okay. And so call 417-351-5221.
Yes, sir.
Perfect, because they're there right now. You can make an appointment.
Perfect.
Okay, I'd like to have an appointment.
Let's do that. I look forward to seeing you.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hello.
Well, good afternoon, Dr. Shealy, Dr. Thornton. This is your friend Bob Mundy.
Bob, good to see you.
I have a question. Can we discuss at all some of the side effects of COVID, or is that off limits?
Okay, I'm going to make a statement here.
Are you talking about the disease itself or the vaccine?
Well, I guess it'd be a little bit of both. I'll go ahead and make mention, no names, naturally. My friends, about 3 months ago, a family, they almost died with the COVID. There was other things going on, but now all gone and everything else, and now their hair is coming out by the handfuls. Is that a normal side effect of the COVID? And then the second question, you may or may not know him. The doctor out of St. Louis is saying that at least 96% of the people they're listing are dying. Actually, other side effects, other major medical things are taking most of those people out, allegedly. Is that a true statement?
I'm going to answer your question, Bob, in the best way I know how, without saying anything about any of the statements or the words that you mentioned, because we were very clearly advised that we either take a Fifth Amendment or say nothing at all. In other words, that's the bottom line. But if you read between the lines, I grew up in the former Soviet Russia, KGB, and then other systems, so you learn to read between the lines. So that's your answer right there. But that's nothing that you mentioned about the symptoms and everything else is normal. Nothing is normal about that. So that means it needs to be a proper evaluation and immune system support. But I'm not going to say anything on those several words, because, well, we want to continue providing airtime and not be shut down. And that's the easiest way to get shut down, literally. Yeah.
I will have them get a hold of you, doctors, and God bless you, and thank you for what you do for the people of the Ozarks, USA, and the world.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Have a good one.
And God bless you as well. Yeah.
And, folks, the important thing is you have to make a decision. I can't make a decision for you about anything. but I can help you make wise and safe decisions about, well, almost everything that has to do with your own body, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Because we must take all of that into account. That is the holistic movement.
And I'm gonna go on a little run here. I may want to finish up if there's questions at the end of the radio. So if you're on YouTube live or Facebook live, then listen for my little rant there. But if I have the time now, I'll continue. The concept is holism, and this is a very important topic and timely topic because we talk about mind, body, spirit. It actually it should be spirit, mind, body, because we're spiritual beings. And I'm going to paint a picture here. If just close your eyes. If you're sitting down somewhere, if you're driving, don't close your eyes, please. But if you just visualize, see, feel, and understand, and again, if this is something that you can resonate with, then enjoy. That you are indeed a spiritual being, and a spiritual being as a soul coming into this human existence experience and this is the big why. And if you can understand why you do certain things, what drives you, what motivates you, then the next thing, the thoughts, feelings, emotions is a pattern. Physical is a pattern. Everything else is a pattern. You can work with all that just as long as you realize that you are a spiritual being and you got the ultimate power. That's the key. We got a caller. I'll continue. All right.
Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes.
I had a question about the PEMF device.
Yes. PEMF device. Wonderful. Yes. What's your question, dear? Yeah.
How long do you use it a day?
24/7 if you can. And
you can use it anytime you're not taking a bath or shower.
Oh, okay. And then the instructions.
Instructions.
To leave it on. Does that mean leave the power on?
Okay, let's talk about the device itself. PEMF is one of the best rechargers, regenerators of the cellular energy, and basically it works in every organ system. We've talked about that quite a bit. There are three settings on the PEMF. The first setting is the general scan. If you're ever in question, that scan is going to take care of whatever you need to a good degree. You can use up to 24/7, especially for pain recovery, especially like, for example, my back surgery recovery. I used that 24/7, made a huge difference. But everything else, from the brain down to the skin. Next setting is the gamma. Gamma is puts the brain into the yoo-hoo. It's a feel good, amazing, in the zone type of a place where you're really in the zone. And so anybody with depression, anxiety, addiction, anything that stress, that's at least 2 hours minimum. Why we say 2 hours? Because that's how we did the research. Exactly. It doesn't mean that less than 2 hours is not going to work. It doesn't mean that more than 2 hours is going to work better. We just did the research at 2 hours, but that's the point that we know works for the brain. But we've seen EKG changes immediately when you put the device on. So if you have any kind of a brain bucket type of a thing that you want to straighten out, that's the gamma. Third, and I'm discovering that actually delta mode, which I didn't give it as much love and attention as the other modes, but the delta mode, which is the third mode, and you'll see the different lights on that, is not only good for sleep, which is delta, is good for deep stage 3 sleep. If you sleep, you can recover, you can rest, but it also calms down the nerves. It calms down the entire system. And that's so
it's good for local pain, especially.
Local pain, but also at night under the pillow. But basically, the device is now portable, so I would say 24/7. If you got it, use it.
And you can actually, in most people, it fits right over your head. You can just put the coil right down on the base of on your shoulders and walk around with it.
Okay. All right.
I hope that answered your question.
You. Yeah. Yes, it did. Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
And of course, the most important thing is you make the choice. You decide what fits your personality and your lifestyle. And maybe you want to change your lifestyle, and we can help you with that as well. So the important thing is holism.
And from the perspective of holism, I'm gonna say something, and we'll continue probably a little after. But if I can finish it up within the time period, why is it difficult for people to change? Why is it difficult for people to take care of themselves? Now, a lot of people know what to do. They know they need to exercise. They know they're eating crap. They know they're not sleeping, and they know that it's wrong. Why do they keep doing the same things? Why? And the reason that why is because a lot of us identify, they're very important. us with ourselves as the physical beings, but we're more than physical beings. And if you realize once you realize you're a spiritual being, very important point, with the physical, mental, and emotional bodies and experiences, you can change the patterns easily because you have that power. But we do have another caller, and we'll come back. All right.
Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hello.
Sorry to call again, but I've got a good friend that lost part of a foot due to diabetes.
Oh.
Did I understand you here a while back that gamma
BMF
will increase the blood flow where they will not lose limbs and things like that? Was my understanding right on that?
Yeah. There you actually use the general sweep. Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Markedly
All right,
increased blood flow.
And
Thank you.
multiple stories, multiple success stories, especially including one of my physician previous partners and then the colleagues. He was going to lose his leg, diabetes. He's walking around just fine now. It's perfect.
Thank you.
It's not perfect, but it's better. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, think about it. Are you ready to be healthy? Now, for instance, today, I saw a lady who really needs very much fire and water bliss. She's 100 pounds overweight, and the simplest way to end that is, of course, to eat no wheat, rice, potatoes, or sugar, but then add daily. It takes you 1 extra minute a day to add fire and water bliss. I call it boiling the fat, and it does help you lose weight. All of these things are part of the whole. The fire bliss can raise your DHEA, the anti-stress hormone, and there are 3 other ways of doing that as well, which is very important. But with the water bliss, it works well. Now, if you use the fire, the earth, and the crystal, it'll regrow your telomeres, the tip to your DNA, 3.5% a year. That's 4.5 years younger than you could be without that, because the average person loses 1% a year. Now, everything affects everything. And the thing that affects the most is your thinking. Thinking sets in motion spiritual forces to bring about change in body, mind, everything, your companions, your hopes, your despair. Think positive, create positive. The important thing is take charge of your life, and you'll enjoy it a lot more.
And stay tuned for After the Radio, because I'm going to say a few more words of wisdom. All right, I think there are words of wisdom, I should say. That's what we see. But I think we're almost out of time. Or how much time we have? 2 minutes. Okay, so let's just finish up with a general concept of what is holism and why it is important, and why is it a genius concept, and why is it a genius person who created. Actually, you're near genius, isn't there, specifically? So IQ 140 is considered near genius, right? So you're almost there as far as the number, but the fact that you created genius concept, I'm going to say, makes you a genius. So and those who will partake in the concept are also a genius, because if you can recognize a genius, that means that's within you. So this is my call to action. Become the genius that you were meant to be. Health genius doesn't mean you're going to be a mathematics genius, or you might be, but become a health genius. Become your own self-care genius and take care of yourself.
Be holistic.
Be holistic.
And take,
yes.
Remember, be in touch with God, with the divine.
Yes.
Be aware of the magnificent universe in which we live. To me, the greatest proof that there's something phenomenally greater than any human being is just the universe itself. All you got to do is look around. You have to be in a spaceship to see how big it is and how wonderful it is. And be aware of that. And remember, all that empty energy is filled with scalar energy, and in empty space smaller than the tip of this fountain pen, there's enough energy to boil the ocean.
And that, I'm just going to finish up really, really briefly, so I hope we have enough time to say it. That is why the power of God, the power of faith, the power of the ultimate creator is greater than any power that any government, any force, any entity can enforce on anything, whether it's proper or improper. And that is the key to the question that indirectly, but directly to the question about how to deal with certain emergencies and situations. Realize you are a spiritual, holistic being. Realize you've got the power within your mind, within your heart, within your soul. And nobody can make you do anything that is against your right to be healthy, holistic, and amazing. Take care. I think we did it. Yeah.
And let's see if we have any more questions. We've got a couple minutes.
All right, we do have another question. We do have another question on the internet. Do you recommend low dose ND daily?
A low dose ND.
That's
and
what it says. Capital N, capital D.
Okay.
ND daily.
I don't know what ND is.
There are several abbreviations that I can potentially think of, but I would want to know what that stands for specifically. There's quite the abbreviations are everywhere, by the way. So I want to see what the topic is. But please, any.
We have another question on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "Hi doctors, how much protein should an 80 years young woman take every day? I'm healthy and on no medication. Also, do collagen peptides count toward the total protein?"
Okay, so this is a very good question. So we have an 80-year-old healthy. By the way, that's how you should be at 80. I'm just going to say it that way.
Yes.
You're not supposed to have by 30 or 40 years old 3 or 4 medical conditions: hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, obesity, metabolic syndrome, and lots of other stuff, including depression and anxiety. We're supposed to be healthy and happy into the old age and beyond. And we have a way to go beyond 100. But to answer the question specifically,
a minimum of 50 grams.
But I'm going to give a formula. Take your weight and calculate how many kilograms you got, which is pounds divided by 2.2. So let's say a 220-pound person is 100 kilograms. That's a terrible example here, but if you're there, make sure you do something about it. But that'd be 100 grams. For a 50-kilogram person, 50 grams, and so on and so forth of protein. Collagen is a wonderful source of protein, and I like it personally. Dr. Shealy likes gelatin as well. Yeah.
But I also like whey protein.
Yeah.
And of course, the best of all is wild caught fish salmon.
Yeah.
Wild caught salmon is the best protein of all in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We have another person asking if they can use all 5 of the bliss oils every day.
That's exactly what I do, and there's several reasons why. I'm gonna share on that. Brilliant and absolutely yes. First of all, each oil has its own benefit, and actually, I'd like to let's take a little time and just talk about the benefits of each and the combinations, because that is something that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Okay, well, fire raises DHEA. It's great for rheumatoid arthritis, for instance, for migraine headache, for low back pain. I mean, gosh, what is it? Yeah, it's phenomenal. Air raises oxytocin, the nurturing bonding hormone, great for anxiety and depression. Water normalizes aldosterone, the water potassium balancing one. It's good for weight loss and for hypertension. Earth raises calcitonin, the chemical that keeps your bones strong, also helps pain. And crystal reduces free radicals a whopping 80%.
Wonderful. And now, when you combine them, and especially, and this is important for those who. There was a question I wanted to finish addressing. This is a wonderful opportunity to do so. It was a question of basically longevity versus how long to live versus how healthy to live. Personally, I have no fear or concern about life or death. I've already had 3 near-death experiences in various ways. I wouldn't recommend them to people, but hey, I'm still here. So this is great. Can you go without it? Absolutely. What I've realized, what I've learned is, I call it recycling personally, but or just coming home. I have no fear of coming home, but it's just not the time yet. But if I'm gonna live, and I want to live, my goal is 125 to 150. When I get to 125, I'll figure out how the next 25 years go, depending on how the country and society goes. But The concept is that you actually can regrow telomeres and be healthy, happy, and productive. So for all the people who are saying, "Oh, I don't want to grow too old," you might be thinking in the wrong direction. You might be thinking that growing old, the age means sickness. That's not what it means. How old are you right now?
Well, I'll be 89 on December 4th. But my great-grandmother, I last visited when she was 101, said, "Grandma, how you doing, bud? I feel just as good as when I was 16, she said. And that's the way you should feel at any age.
At any age. So for those who are healthy, happy, and enjoying their life, why not live beyond 100? That's my question. Reconsider. Keep an open mind. Anybody else out there with any wisdom or thoughts or comments?
Yes, the person that that wrote in about the low dose ND. It was low dose naltrexone.
Naltrexone. I've used that before, and yes, I like that.
And
yes.
Can you use it daily?
Well, I would want to wean them off that at some point.
At some point, but it does serve a purpose.
It has its purpose, but I would prefer to convert to the PEMF device as soon as possible.
That'd be the best case scenario. Yes. But there's various options, of course. Yes.
And we just had someone write in that they're going to adopt that philosophy, get to 125 and then figure out the next 25.
I love it.
Hey, I love it. Good on you.
Well, maybe we're starting a movement here. What do you think? All right.
Everyone else is just asking, is just wishing you happy anniversary wishes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Have a good week.
Mm-hmm.